hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back again. And this time we're back with what's really a very short commentary on the trailer of How to Train Your Dragon. I remember having seen this for the first time when my nephews were young, when they were little. They had, my brother had come, and then my other brother also came home with each they came and worked with sons, and one of them had gifted their sons a movie of How to Train Your Dragon. They've never read the book. I didn't even know it was a book either. So when they put it on Christmas Day, what do you expect? It's not a kids movie. It doesn't matter. And it really didn't matter because the kids were excited to see it. What gives? Let's watch the movie. And there it was. The animation, it wasn't like we've ever seen. The sky was very realistic. The flight, amazing. I really enjoyed those flight scenes. Um, but you had Vikings, you had dragons, and on top of that, you had human emotion. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. But what wasn't there to like? You know, even years later, we've all rewatched the movies several times and over the years, and it was really something when it came out, that movie. Obviously the second movie came out, and in my opinion the second one's even better than the first film. But right now, well, not now, but a trailer was released recently for a How to Train Your Dragon, a live action remake. Obviously there's some people that are going to be skeptical. When I asked one of my nephews about it, he was kind of concerned about the movie, saying that, not trusting that it might be good. He had his reservations, and that's fine. But watching the trailer, I found, yes, it is kind of like a replay scene by scene of the original film, but also it's not. How can I say this? I am not too concerned about the film because I do see its huge potential. And to kind of explain where I'm coming from, what would be the closest to this type of thing of a live adaptation of a kid's animation? We look at Disney and their live action remakes. So, one of the most recent movies, Mufasa. Well, not Mufasa, but The Lion King. I heard a lot of negative criticisms about the movie, and I do see where where they would be concerned, because with The Lion King, they're all animals, and by making them very realistic and then giving them these human voices and human demeanors, it's really anthropomorphizing to the extreme, right? Because they're animals, but they're talking and acting like humans. It's really disconcerting, and it would break away from that magic from the animation of The Lion King, right? Now, I didn't watch the movie, but even watching a trailer, I didn't think it was enticing enough for me to actually go and see it. Um, I don't know if there was any like musical bits in the movie like there was in the original film, but I can see how it can be kind of overwhelming to see animals singing and dancing when they look so realistic. Because the actual animation doesn't look bad. Like the CGI looks pretty good. We have gone a long way, technology wise. But I think that type of thing loses cohesion with the plot, because now, you know, real animals. acting like real humans, it doesn't match that well, right? It really doesn't. If we look at other films as well, like The Little Mermaid, there was a lot of clashing because, oh, identity politics. Again, I don't know why people are so into over analyzing and wanting to say, oh, this movie is woke and not woke. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. The same thing with Beauty and the Beast. You know, I heard a lot of complaints about Beauty and the Beast, but I enjoyed Beauty and the Beast. I did think that the small changes that they did really changed the story, but not just that, they gave it more perspective. It gave it more lore than in the original film. So that was one thing that I enjoyed about it. Not just that, but the musical bits, they were also pretty good. And you know the ending scene where Gaston's best buddy being gay, it really didn't really detract. It was like, okay, that happened, but there was nothing inappropriate going on, and it's not really something that really detracts from the story itself at the very end. So it's like, there, it people really go into it, look way too into it. But going back to you know How to Train Your Dragon, I do see a lot more potential compared to the Disney live action remakes. And the reason why I say this is that yes, there's creatures and there's going to be a lot of CGI because there's no dragons. And obviously in How to Train Your Dragon, there's a lot of sequences with dragons interacting with humans, and especially when there's the flying bits where they're flying high in the sky and everything. So it's going to be heavily action packed and it's going to be heavily CGI. But from what I've seen the trailer, it's doesn't look bad. I mean, it looks good. You can see, at least in the image that I put over here, the scales do look like scales. Um, maybe the big eyes might be a little bit too much because they do very look like animated big eyes, but it's also kind of like part of um, Toothless, the identity of Toothless, like how we know him to be. So it's not really that bad. But where I believe is the true potential is that How to Train Your Dragon is not just about Vikings and dragons and about the beautiful animation where they're flying in the sky. There is an emotional component that anyone can relate to, and it's something that can easily transcend from an animation to real life. What do I mean with this? Going back to the story of How to Train Your Dragon, our main character, he goes through the struggle of trying to live up to his father's expectation. And the thing is, he's not his father. He's not a big Viking. He is not this larger than life hero that can, one hand, choke a dragon and the other eat a turkey leg or something. It's not that. He is small. He is frail. He's young. He cannot live to his father's expectations to be a large Viking, this large, strong Viking. But that's okay. I mean, Hiccup doesn't have to be. And anybody can relate to that. Like, who hasn't felt that when they were younger? They wanted to be something that their parents could be proud of. And then, even if the parents didn't say so directly, they you begin feeling that okay, I'm not living to my parents' expectations. I'm not living to that image they have of me, even if it's something that you imagined yourself and not them. So it is something that anybody can relate in that part. But then Hiccup also goes his own way. He finds his own way that is him, no one else's. And that requires a certain amount of courage and of tenacity to kind of go against the grain of what other people are doing. The Hiccup was part of the village. They fight dragons. They kill dragons. When Hiccup saves Toothless and decides he does not want to kill dragons, but instead he wants to get to know these creatures and starts to kind of fall for them, knowing how majestic they are and how similar they are to humans, that they're not the vicious beasts that he was told that they were. They weren't. So he finds a way to make that connection, that bond with dragons, despite everybody else around him wanting to do the complete opposite. And in a live action remake, and that's kind of like my own caveat to this, if they can translate those emotions from an animation to live action, which can actually be done, then you have a solid film that I don't think hardly anybody could complain about. Maybe complain about, oh, it looks too much like CGI, oh, this or that. But the true essence of the film is a boy who is trying to live to his father's expectation. He finds that he can't, but finds his own way. That is the story. If they can translate that into live action, it will be a hit. I can guarantee it. Well, I can't guarantee it, but I'm very sure of it. And if it has a success and they do make a How to Train Your Dragon, the second film, it'll be even a greater success because there's even more emotion behind it. I mean, I've made this review before, but with the death of when Hiccup loses his father, that is a pain because you lose somebody close to you, somebody who's no longer be part of your life, who's no longer be sharing your pains of growth, you know, your pains, your gains. They're no longer going to be a part of your life, but they are part of you in your memories and everything that you do, what you learned from them. But it is something that you have to get through. It's a process of grief. It's a strong emotional path to grow into the person you are meant to be, even when you don't believe in yourself. So there are a lot of emotions at play, which is why I believe that at the very least, the two first films of How to Train Your Dragon, they would easily translate into live action because they're not heavily reliant on like in CGI. Like yes, they can make it pretty all they want, but as long as core the core of the film, the emotions, the things that we as people can connect to, as long as they're intact, the films will be a success. That I am sure. Well, that's just my thoughts on this. I'm excited to see that live action film, even though my nephew isn't. But, we'll see if he gets around to it and if I can convince him to watch it later on. At any rate, what are your thoughts? Do you think it'll just be a flop? Are you not excited for it? It's like, meh. Did you never see the older films? Or the original films, I should say? Now, just leave your thoughts. Be nice to each other in the comments, even though nobody actually really leaves a comment. But, no. Do what you will. At any rate, take care. And remember, always remember, be good. Be kind to one another. And to those around you. Because you never know what they're going through. Bye-bye.